Three, two, one, go.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Triad of the Forest podcast, a podcast from Puerto Rican friends coming together to do deep dives into Star Wars and other nerd-related media. This is season 4, and today we kind of want to do a little bit of a recap of the movies that we've been getting this summer so far, because it's been like a pretty good summer for movies. Some have flopped, some we haven't gotten yet, and we're kind of gearing up for the summer that is promising to have a lot of blockbusters, and we're kind of also want to talk about a little bit of the upcoming Jedi projects, like especially Rey's film. So it's kind of like a smorgasbord of some films that we're getting this summer and upcoming in the future. So
a palate cleanser, if you will.
Yeah.
To kind of restart the summer and get into like the latter half of the year, especially since,
we've been slightly obsessed with Indiana Jones.
We've been slightly obsessed with Indiana
Yeah.
Jones, and we always say we're Star Wars and other nerd-related media. And this year, we haven't really been talking about other nerd-related media. So yeah, it'll be nice to kind of stop and look back and look forward, because we always have to look back a little bit. And it was interesting because right before we started recording, we were actually talking about Indiana Jones, surprise, surprise, and how I mean, if you listen to the last episode with Alex Damon, you've probably got the vibe that he enjoyed the film, and we honestly, legitimately believe it's a good movie. But in looking at its box office, it's not doing too hot. Obviously, I'm not a box office analyst or or financial person for any of these things, so I don't know if we can consider it a flop. It's still 1 week into its theatrical run, so who knows what's gonna happen in the future. But it was definitely interesting to see, right? Like like the first post Disney acquisition, Lucasfilm theatrical release that it's not a Star Wars thing, do not so well, considering that it's Harrison Ford's return to the franchise after 15 years, I think it is, since Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. And considering that it's better than Kingdom of the Crystal Skull by a considerable amount, to all of a sudden see that it's kind of doing, I haven't checked the numbers for The Flash, but I think it's doing better than The Flash, but still.
It was still a lot more expensive than The Flash.
Not doing too, So, now, what were your expectations? Like, did you think that Indy was going to rock the box office? What were your expectations of like how this film was going to do? Even though, actually, surprisingly, we've never ever talked about how movies do at the box office and how much money they take in, because that's never really what we've cared about.
Talk about. Yeah.
But I think in this case, it's particularly interesting to kind of look back on, because like what went wrong? Everything should have been going right for this movie. So what do you think?
I don't know what happened. I mean, I saw it on the day that it premiered, which in Puerto Rico is on Thursdays. And we went to an early film because we like doing early. So we went at like 2 p.m. or something. But I was expecting the theater to be packed, and it wasn't.
Well, people are at work on Thursday.
Well, I know what you mean. But sometimes for films that are expected to be huge, it doesn't matter. All those first days, you can't even find tickets. So it was not really what I was expecting. It was definitely an older crowd. So it is people, it is your dad's film, kind of. I think that's might have been what hurt it. That they waited too long to make it. 15 years is a long time. Harrison Ford is getting old.
No, not getting old. He's old. He's already there. He got there. He's there. Just because he looks great, and it's in great condition, doesn't mean the man's not. He's 80, 81, I think.
Yeah. So and I don't know. I think the marketing for it was really good. I was really excited about it. I've heard people that aren't necessarily Indiana Jones fans, like when they watch the trailers, they'll be like, "Oh, I'm kind of excited to see that." So it seems like they did a good job. The premiere looked like it was amazing. They brought John Williams back. I mean, it seemed and it was a fitting end to Indiana Jones. So I think it really is. And we were talking about this earlier a little bit, that there's so many blockbusters this summer that it kind of fell between the cracks of this younger audience maybe just not caring that much about Indiana Jones anymore. Because 15 years ago was
Mhm.
the last installment and it wasn't good. There's
I mean,
arguably
it wasn't good in
yeah,
the and sorry to cut you off, but like it
no
wasn't
worries.
good. It wasn't good in the sense of critical reviews. Even though if you look at the Rotten Tomatoes, I know Rotten Tomatoes scores don't mean anything, but just to start using some
Yeah,
metrics, technically, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull has a better at least critic score
right.
than Dial of Destiny,
Okay.
which it's one of those things where you
Surprising.
look back and
Yeah.
it's just like, oh, people were panning this, but so it's kind of for me, it kind of shows like how disingenuous like some reviewers are nowadays, looking like at modern Lucasfilm properties, because I don't think there's that much cynicism with other properties as there is with Lucasfilm. But Kingdom of the Crystal Skull killed the box office. It was like the highest grossing film of the year, I think it was. It did like over $700 million when I checked that earlier this week. So like,
That
critic
surprises me. Yeah.
financially, Kingdom of the
Mhm.
Crystal Skull cleaned house. It did
Mhm.
very well, and
That
it
surprises
was
me
it was
actually.
it was it was a home run
Mhm.
for Lucasfilm. Well, but if you think about it, it kind of makes sense because it was
Yeah.
the it was kind of like the Phantom Menace of the Indiana
Yeah.
Jones. It's
Yeah.
like
It
it's
was the
coming
first
back
one we
after
got
all
to
these
see in the
years.
theaters.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think there
Mhm.
was like a lot of hype in that sense because it was you and I
Mhm.
and like our siblings and our friends were like
I
that
grew up
first
watching them
we
and
were growing up and
yeah.
we were that first generation post our parents seeing it back when it
Yeah.
originally came
Yeah.
out to finally get indie. And now with Dial of Destiny, I feel like it's like one generation removed, right? So it's just like Gen Z
Yeah.
that's like going to see indie, but I don't feel like, and maybe I'm wrong because I don't have a lot of Gen Z friends. So
Yeah.
maybe you know this better since you're in school now. But I don't feel like Gen Z has like that attachment
Love for
with
indie that we did.
indie,
Yeah.
and I don't feel like they grew up with it the same way that we did. So I feel in a way like maybe people were jaded with Indiana Jones,
Mm.
and it's just like, oh, well, it left a bad taste in our mouth last time with Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, and now Harrison Ford's even older, so do I want to see that? And after all the disasters, quote unquote, because people let themselves be guided by headlines with all the Star
Yeah.
Wars movies, like how good can Disney do with Indiana Jones if they already quote unquote ruined Star Wars? So like I don't know if like all of this kind of
Yeah.
coalesced into creating a environment to
Yeah.
not go see Indiana Jones. Well, to not go out and see it in droves because people did go out. Like it had, if this were a movie that were half the cost that it cost to
Yeah.
make, it would have
It'd be
been a
doing
box
well.
office
Yeah.
success because it did
Yeah.
$60 million in its opening weekend. That's actually good numbers. The problem is when you contextualize that it cost $300 million to make,
Yeah.
and then it's just like, oh, it kind of
Ouch.
shifts things.
Yeah.
But do you think it's those things, or what you were saying initially about just the massive summer competition that it's having this summer? Because this summer, as opposed to like all these COVID, because we're in the first post-COVID summer, right? And like, and I say post-COVID, I don't mean that COVID's done. COVID's
Right,
still
right.
a thing, but like, we've acclimated to the COVID, so then
Yeah.
that
And
sense
people
is
are
post-COVID.
actually
Yeah,
starting to go back to the theater more comfortably and more
yeah.
often. So yeah.
So
So it's a
all the
big summer.
so all the last 2 summers, yeah, there were films, but there wasn't like all these blockbusters that came out. So how do you feel? Like, do you think, or maybe it's a combination of both? What do you think?
I
Yeah.
actually think it's a combination of both because I think that a negative environment around the film was created because everything you read online, there were a lot of people ahead of the movie coming out like being very harsh about the film. So, and that tends to change people's minds about if they're excited or not excited to watch it. And then you combine that with all the other films that are coming out and going to the theater, especially in the States, it's expensive to go to the movies.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
you
Mhm.
have to pick and choose what movies you think, oh, I have all these streaming services that I already pay for. So which movies can I wait for them to be released to watch
Right.
them at home? Because
Except,
I'm
oh,
already
that's a good
paying
point.
for it.
Yeah, that's a good
I'm
point.
already paying for the streaming service, so I'm gonna get it once it's released. And what do I pay that extra money to actually sit in the theater and watch it?
And,
So
and when you go to the movie theater, it's not just your ticket,
right,
right?
it's
Because
the
you
food
want some
and yeah,
popcorn, you want some
claro, claro.
nachos, you want
Mhm.
whatever the hell you want, and so it adds up. It adds up. It's expensive. Like
Yeah,
here, like I go to the Alamo because the Alamo Draft House, which is a very good movie theater chain that finally opened in Chicago, which I was very excited for. But it's a kind of a higher end theater experience, so it comes with a higher end theater price, and tickets
mhm,
are what between $12 to $15.
yeah.
So I was used to when I was back home paying $5 for movie theater tickets, and and they still have gone up. Like contextually, ticket prices in Puerto Rico are also expensive when you
Yeah.
consider like the economics of the island. So like what last time I was there, what were they like $9 or something?
Well, and it depends where you go because San Patricio, which is right next to where I live, they
Hmm.
revamped it and now it's like it has a bar and like a restaurant and it's all the reclinable seats and everything. So I think they are like $30 now, and that's
Oh,
Puerto Rico. Yeah,
that's a lot.
that's expensive.
That's super expensive for back home.
Yep,
At least the cine combo is still like $6, 6 or 7 bucks.
I think so. Yeah,
So it's still at least on the food department, it's still cheaper. But yeah, but you have to make that choice, and it's actually
yeah.
something
Well,
that I
well, and now
wasn't
that we
thinking when you
actually go
said.
there, that they have the bar, obviously we're gonna get some scotch to watch the movie. It's not just gonna be Diet
Of
Coke,
course, of course, of
So,
course,
so
of
that
course.
adds up.
Please,
Yeah,
that goes
claro,
without saying.
claro,
No, but
claro.
you said something that I hadn't think about, which is the streaming aspect of it,
Yeah,
especially with how complicated the streaming landscape is right now with like Paramount Plus and Disney Plus
right.
and Netflix and Amazon Prime and all of
Max
them
and
and Apple TV Plus. It's so
yeah,
hard to keep track of them, and obviously,
yeah,
if you have all of them, it's really expensive. So if you
mhm,
have all of them, you're gonna say, especially after you got used to having films come out at the same time and you're seeing
right,
them at home, you're like, why
mhm,
would I go pay more to
yeah,
go to the
to go to
movies
the
when I can
movies.
just wait a couple weeks and see the exact same thing from the comfort of my home, and I can pause and go to the bathroom, pause and get food and all these things. I mean,
Yeah,
I like the movie theaters. I prefer the movie theater experience to watching something at
mhm,
home. But lots of people like the
yeah,
convenience of home.
yeah,
So it's interesting to see uh, how blockbusters are behaving these days because
yeah.
movies that
How
you
the
think are
landscape
gonna.
has changed because sometimes back in the day when you were debating if you were going to see a movie because it would take a long time sometimes to get released. So a
Yeah,
film would
yeah.
come out of the theaters and you wouldn't be able to like rent it at Blockbuster until like
Hmm.
months later. But now that you have the streaming services, sometimes they're still running in the theaters and they're already released to the streaming service.
Hmm.
So that time change, like, oh, but I'm gonna get it at home in like a couple weeks. So why would I do the extra effort? So I think all of movie watching landscape has changed so much from when we were kids
Hmm.
that it's kind of harder to predict how things are gonna do now.
Yeah, because it's like for me, like Harrison Ford back with. And maybe that was part of the marketing that was missing. It's like just marketing it as the last time that not just Harrison Ford, but
Yeah,
Steven Spielberg, George Lucas,
yeah,
John Williams, and
yeah,
Harrison Ford were going to collaborate in this, and
yeah,
Karen Allen. Well, but Karen Allen would have been a spoiler,
yeah,
even though well, whatever. Like, you know what I mean.
yeah,
But like this last time that all of this iconic group
yeah,
of creators were going to be together to
yeah,
make an Indiana Jones movie, and
yeah.
how it's in a way his okay
The
maybe
end of an era.
historic is hyperbolic, but I mean, but everything's history if you think about it. But yeah, but the end of an era for
Yeah,
this filmmaking squad, because it's when you think about it in hindsight, it's kind of sentimental in that way. It's just like we
yeah,
grew up with all of the like with George Lucas and Steven Spielberg and John Williams and Harrison Ford making these movies since
yeah,
like 40 years ago. And now they're, and they were like, young, well, not young, but they were like these creators that are just doing all these films that we're growing up with. And now all this time later, they're on the down, right? They're
yeah,
some are knocking on heaven's door, some are retired, like George Lucas. And they're kind of going their separate ways, and in a way, that magic that happened back in
yeah,
the late '70s, early '80s, this is the last time we're ever gonna get it.
yeah,
And there hasn't been, not to say that there aren't good franchises or good films out or good creators out there. I don't mean to
yeah,
imply that because there are wonderful stories out there to watch. But like this magical combination of all these people and Kathy Kennedy and Frank Marshall. Sorry, I forgot about them. Like all of them coming together to do this
yeah,
is not happening again, and this is the last time that this
yeah,
was gonna happen. So, like, I don't know if that was a marketing angle like they could have gone
yeah.
with, but I don't know. It's a little bittersweet, but at least I'm happy that the movie's good.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
And
It
people
was
and people
fun.
and people are enjoying it because if you look at
Yeah,
like actual like, and
mhm,
this is my barometer. I mean, not this that I'm about to say. The thing that I'm about to say next is the barometer. But if you go to Rotten Tomatoes and you look at the user ratings, actually it's 88%, really good, which I was surprised by because I thought it was gonna get review bombed the same way Last Jedi did
Mhm.
and whatnot. But like the fact that like normal people on Rotten Tomatoes are giving it good reviews, that's a good thing. But my other barometer is the toxic environment of Facebook.
Oh, yeah.
and if you go into Facebook, if you go into Facebook and you go into the comment section of any Star Wars project, it's full of toxic, right wing incel, all the trash talk that you are accustomed of toxic fandom about Star Wars, like let's fire Kathy Kennedy, all that stuff. It's there, like saying how every Star Wars project sucks. So out of curiosity, I started being like, okay, well, let's see what the narrative is with Indiana
For
Jones.
indie. Yeah.
And to my honest surprise, like for the most part, when I read the Facebook comments on Indy, positive. People are just like, I really enjoyed the movie. Like I was excited. Harrison Ford looks great. I was just like, oh crap.
Look at
I did not expect
that.
positivity. I did not expect positivity from Facebook. So take that for what you will. I don't know.
Yeah.
But shifting gears into like another tentpole franchise that we thought was going to make a killing, and it's a movie that I wasn't sure I really wanted to talk about just because of a little controversy with its
Yeah.
lead actor.
Yeah.
But
But we can talk about the film itself. Yeah. The Flash
The
was.
Flash was another movie that I thought was going to just destroy the box office, and quite the opposite.
Yeah.
It was destroyed itself
It
by
did.
it, and a movie that, as opposed to Indiana Jones, I and this was my review on Letterboxd, I actively disliked. A movie that I usually like, even if it's a movie I'm not enjoying, like I'll find the redeeming qualities and the story elements that are, because you don't want to just discredit a movie that like hundreds of people kind of put blood, sweat, and tears into it to like make and put on the big screen. But like this was one of the few movies that I went to see it with my girlfriend, and she's not a comic book fan, and
Yeah.
she's like not as going into the movies as I am. So every time she comes to the movie theater with me, I'm very thankful that she's indulging going to the movies, right? And I want her to have a good time. And with this one, I'm just like,
Like,
I
uh-oh.
halfway through that movie, I apologized to her. I'm just like, I'm sorry that I made you come to see this film. She obviously disliked it, and I probably disliked it even more than her because I had high expectations for it.
Yeah.
Because The Flash was a movie that, and obviously, I was excited for it before the whole controversy started. Uh, but when that trailer dropped and we got that whole Michael Keaton thing, I'm just like,
Yeah.
well, let's go.
I'm ready. Yeah.
I am ready. I'm going head first into this. So, Nani, what did you think of? Let's not talk about box office anymore. It failed, whatever.
Yeah.
But what do you
Yeah. It
think of
failed.
like how it happened with that movie? Yeah.
Okay. So I wasn't thinking it was going to be good. So I think that helped temper my expectations because even though when that trailer dropped, I got really excited. I've just become accustomed to be disappointed by DC just
Mhm.
because I need to protect my heart because it's Wonder Woman 1984 was so
But the
bad. And I
Batman
was
was great.
and then the Batman was great. But you also have to temper with what they do with Batman sometimes because
Mhm.
Batman is one of those few that usually turns out being good. Like the Christopher Nolan ones were so good. I actually thought Ben Affleck was excellent as
Yes, he was.
Batman.
Yep.
His problem is he never got his own
His
solo
own
film,
movie. Yeah,
so
his
we're
own
never
movie. Yeah.
gonna know how his Batman would have turned out.
Would have been
Um,
good. Would have been good.
yeah, but this one, I was. Here's the thing: I'm a really big fan of the Flashpoint paradox, and once
Because
you started to
you
see,
watch the animated films, right?
yeah, yeah. So and DC actually does very well in animation, which is why it's always so sad to me that in live action they've never really been able to give us what Marvel has given us, for
Mhm.
example. Like the live action has just never been as good as it should be, with its exceptions, because there are some great films out there. But their animation stuff is so good, the shows, the films, everything, that they can just never really stick the landing with anything else. So
Mhm, mhm.
if they would have stuck to the actual storyline of Flashpoint Paradox, which if you haven't seen it, the animated version is on Max, and there's a graphic novel that's really good on it too. and they had it. They had the makings of it, and then
Mm.
they decided to change it because I don't know why. Because I mean, Gal Gadot was in a cameo, so you have Wonder Woman. We have Jason Momoa is still doing Aquaman, so we
Not a good cameo, you ask me though.
no, it wasn't a good cameo either. But we have her. We have Aquaman. So you could have done the Flashpoint Paradox storyline instead of whatever it is that they did here. So when I started to see that they were changing it, that they're doing like two Ezras, so I was like, I don't think this is gonna be good. So I went thinking that it was gonna be terrible. So it ended up
Hmm.
actually being less.
Even with Michael Keaton, you were like, "This is gonna be terrible." Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was gonna be terrible, and I
Well,
assumed
you
Michael
were right.
Keaton.
You were right. Yeah.
No, and then I assumed Michael Keaton was gonna end up being just a cameo. So the fact that I got more of him than I was expecting, I actually enjoyed.
But I
So
think, well, sorry, I'm just
yeah,
I haven't been able to talk about this movie, like
with anybody, and you hated
yeah,
it. So
to this level of nerddom. So I'm very quasi excited for this. So sorry, but yeah, keep going.
it's okay. It's fine. I mean, I was expecting it to be terrible, so it wasn't as bad as I thought it was gonna be. Like the Michael Keaton parts had me smiling the whole time. The CGI was horrendous. It's some of the worst CGI I've seen in a film. So
But see, with the yeah, I agree. The CGI was
oh my
atrocious,
god, the flying babies and
but
the
I don't care too much if CGI is
right,
bad if the story's
yeah.
good because it's
If the
just like
story's
okay,
good,
well,
yeah.
whatever. I mean, fine. But the fact that you add that, it's just it adds to the list of gripes at that point. It's just like, well, the movie sucks, so now I'm just gonna find everything that I
Everything.
didn't like about it. And that whole baby sequence is just odd.
Oh,
I
it
was
was
just,
so bad.
it's just because it's not that it could have been that the idea of it was bad. It's just that the execution was just very odd. I was just
Yeah,
very confused throughout the whole movie. I feel like, and that's the thing. Like, it's not about the comedic tone because I understand that the Flash
it's the Flash. Yeah,
tonally is more,
yeah,
it's closer to Spider-Man,
mhm,
obviously, than Batman. So he's not
yeah,
gonna be brooding. Uh, I get that, even though I don't read the comics and I don't watch the DC animated stuff. But I understand
yeah.
that this tone was supposed to be different. But even then, I feel like this was closer to oh my god, I forgot the original Batman's name, Adam West. This was more Adam West in
Pow,
tone.
boom.
This was more Adam West meets Batman and Robin, Joel Schumacher Batman than a Snyderverse film because it's
Yeah,
technically a Snyderverse
technically
film.
still, yeah.
And I'm not saying that I don't want humor in these movies because I think humor actually will work. I mean, we've seen it with other superhero movies that are funny. Like the first Shazam, I thought was the right balance of humor and stakes.
Yeah.
Not the second one. The second one sucks, and also has a bad Wonder Woman cameo. But this Flash one is just bizarre. It was
Yeah.
just bizarre tonally. It's just like it's supposed to be this thing where he wants to fix the past to help his mom. I mean, to save his mom and help his dad. But then he's just like making weird. It's just and maybe hey, maybe that humor was done for someone else than not
I
me
don't know.
because I did not connect to the humor of that movie. I feel it was like over the top and campy, and I was just like, it just felt like it was trying really, really hard to like look at us how not serious we are, like the Snyder cut, and how fun and MCU like we are now. And I'm just like, it just doesn't work, especially when you're dealing with a, such a dark subject matter.
Yeah.
So
And the Flashpoint Paradox is it hurts. It's a storyline that hurts.
that's the
So
one that has not Damian Wayne. Oh my God, Bruce Wayne's father, right?
Thomas
As Thomas Wayne as
Thomas as
Batman,
a Batman that murders people
and
because
his
he's super
mom and
angry.
Martha
And his
as
mom's
the
the
Joker.
Joker.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Wonder Woman and Aquaman are destroying the world because they got into a war because they were having an affair and Wonder Woman ended up killing Aquaman's wife. So yeah, it's dark and it hurts and it's a really impactful storyline. I remember when I watched it the first time, I was like, wow, that got real.
But I understand like this one not being completely in
Yeah,
that tone because it's trying to
yeah,
reset everything, and according
right.
to
I
James
know.
Gunn, which I think he lied,
Yeah,
it resets everything for the
but it didn't.
DCU, and I'm just like,
No,
I
no, you
think
didn't really do
I'm
that.
like you, I think you lied, but yeah, very odd,
Yeah,
and they pulled the same joke from the theatrical Justice League that I didn't think worked, which is like when Wonder Woman puts the lasso of truth on Batman, then Batman's
Yeah,
just like, and it's like, dude,
and talking about his feelings. Yeah,
yeah, it's just like, I mean, I get that it's funny because Batman's supposed to be, but like, you already did that joke once,
yeah,
and it didn't
hmm
land there. It didn't land, at least to me, it didn't land here.
yeah.
So I don't know. I didn't, and and I grew up with Michael Keaton as my Batman, and Batman Returns is still one of my
Yeah.
favorite Batman films. So I was excited, as most of
How
us
did you
probably
feel
were.
about his scenes?
I think that they were a mixed bag, honestly. I feel
Okay.
like his introduction sucked a little bit just because it's supposed to be this mysterious thing. Oh, who lives here? And they film
Yeah,
it in a way that you're not supposed to know who it is, even though all the marketing is just like, oh, it's Michael
we know
Keaton.
it's him.
So you're
Yeah.
like, okay, why are we hiding? But then I feel like they were amping up too much the comedy angle on Michael
Okay.
Keaton, and I'm just like, not to say that there isn't comedy like the Tim Burton ones, because let's keep it real. Batman was kind of funny in Batman Returns. He wasn't like that deadpan Christian Bale Batman. There
Yeah.
was some humor to him, but I feel like
Mhm.
here it's just dialed to like a weird point where it's just takes me out of the moment because it's not the same, and maybe it's not the same character from
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
films. Maybe it's supposed to look like it, but it's a different one, right? Even though I do think it's the same one because they have the same
Because
suits from the
it was the
films.
same mansion and it was the same Batcave and they used the original like
So
soundtrack whenever he showed up. So
so
that nostalgia aspect actually because Michael Keaton is actually a good actor too.
oh
And his
yeah,
Batman's fantastic. So he was still the best thing in that film. And it was still not as good as it could have been,
yeah.
because so much of it was teased that it kind of took away from it. So if they would have done just a little tease of him and not as much as they did, I think it would have helped. The other thing was I actually really liked Kara a lot, but then she was barely in it.
Exactly. I was besides
Yeah,
Michael Keaton, actually the character I was least excited for was the Flash. But Supergirl,
yeah,
Sasha Calle, it's just Latinas al poder. But like Michael Keaton, Sasha, Supergirl, it was were the things that I was the
and she
most
looked
excited for.
amazing, and then she was barely in it.
She looked amazing, and like,
Yeah,
she didn't do almost anything in the movie, and her character arc was kind of nonsensical. They break her out of the Russian prison, which
yeah,
is like son of, like I think there was like a comic book version of Superman where he lands in the USSR instead of the
yeah,
US, and he's like, I forgot the name of that version of Superman, but they were kind
yeah,
of implying that a little bit by her being in Russia, blah blah blah, which I thought was interesting. But then they save her, and then she's like, I don't believe in humanity, and then she leaves and sees Zod, and then it's like, I'm gonna save humanity. It's like, what? I was like, how? Like, give me at least 10 minutes more of development here. You got that character arc went way too quick.
yeah,
But I don't know. I don't know. It's sad, and the trailer for Blue Beetle looks good, and it's a Puerto Rican director that
yeah.
did that movie. So I'm excited for it because it does look good. But then at this point, I'm just
Yeah.
like really, like, am I gonna get my heart broken again? Because
Again,
to
yeah,
an extent, it's happening with Marvel too. Like Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, even though it's definitely better than all these DC things that have
yeah.
happened, I still wasn't a big fan of it. Like Secret Invasion, I don't know if you're watching it, but Secret Invasion, it's not bad, but
Yeah,
it's not rocking my world.
yeah.
So
I watched like one episode and I was like, I'll wait for more to come out and then like watch them more in a row or something. But it's not Loki. It's not
no, it's not.
WandaVision.
Not even remotely close.
Yeah.
And Quantum Mania,
Was terrible. Was active that was actively terrible.
it
Like
looks
it
like
was
a
so bad.
it looks like a COVID movie, and
Oh
I
my
mean
god,
that
it's so bad.
as respectfully as I can. It looks like a COVID
So
movie.
bad.
So I don't
Yeah.
want to
And
use the
Husbando
term.
fell asleep. Fell
Well,
asleep.
I mean, let's
And
face it. He can fall asleep anywhere.
no, 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 no. But not usually during films. And if he does, he'll be like, I need to watch the end because I need to know how it ends. And this time he was like, I don't even care how it ends. It was so bad. I don't even want to torture myself with continuing to watch it.
It's
Bad.
well, whatever. I don't want to keep trashing
Bashing.
films
Yeah.
because we know we're
We
supposed to be
try to
known for being
be
the come on, let's
positive.
contextualize and find positives, but I feel like superhero movies right now are, well, that's not true because what I was gonna say is not completely true because Guardians of the Galaxy 3 was great.
I haven't
I
watched it, that one yet,
I
actually. So,
really, really liked it, and, like, I didn't have that many expectations for it, like, I thought it was gonna be good because
mhm,
I enjoyed all of the Guardians
Guardians, yeah.
movies,
Mhm.
but I feel Guardians of the Galaxy 3, especially as a trilogy, right? When you look at
Yeah,
all 3 movies and the journeys of all the characters,
yeah.
ex excellent. Good job,
Okay.
James Gunn, in, your
With
final
that one.
Marvel movie because it was I don't want to call it perfect, but it was damn good and it hit me in the feels. So, yeah, it's not to say that there's superhero fatigue or the superhero movies inherently are
And Across
bad.
the
But
Spider-Verse
right
was
now, oh,
amazing.
yeah, 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 Across the Spider-Verse was
Across the
incredible.
Spider was amazing. It was so good. It even exceeded the first one, which I was
Yeah.
a really big fan of. And this one, the feels, the animation is fantastic. The story beats, all the new characters that we get to meet. Across the Spider Verse is great. So
Yeah.
if you haven't
It's
watched that one, that was great, great,
I
great, great.
feel like Across the Spider-Verse is able to do the multiversal thing that
Right,
both Flash and Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness kind of failed to do, which is
right.
one, use the multiverse to tell an exciting story,
Mhm.
and then two, show the possibilities of all the multiversal things coming together.
You
And
can
I
do,
feel
yeah.
that both the Flash and Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness kind of failed
Failed at
at
doing
that.
that. Yeah,
And because a lot of people have been saying that the new phase of the MCU isn't really working because the multiverse is kind of pointless because none of the things have consequences because you can just find the characters again.
yeah.
And I'm like, no,
Watch
I
Across
mean,
the Spider Verse. Watch it.
I'm just like Across the Spider Verse has
Yeah.
multiverse and it does it right. I think
And
the
it does what you were saying that the Flash failed as well is a good level of humor because there is humor
yeah
with the
gravitas, there's
core.
gravitas, yeah.
Yeah, there's gravitas. They did such a good job with with the relationships there, Gwen and her father, and then Miles and his parents, and everything that's going on, and it hits you in the feels and it makes you
Hmm.
laugh and it's exciting and it's fantastic and it's proof that if done with care, these films can really be excellent. But
Yeah.
if sometimes you do things just for its own sake, like, oh, we're gonna make the Flash like a little kookier because the other ones are so somber. Well, you need to know where it works and where it doesn't, not just do it because you want it to be lighter.
Right. I mean, conceptually that works, but execution wise, it was a little
Yeah,
jarring.
jarring.
But enough of like looking into the past of things that
Because
didn't
there's a
work or
lot of good
half
things to look
worked.
forward
But
to.
there's a lot of good things to look forward to, and one of the things that we were saying at the beginning that worked against Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny is that there's also a lot of movies coming out, especially particularly three, that are big heavyweights in terms of like competition, especially one, which is a juggernaut. And it might not be the movie that people are expecting me to say, but one particular movie that's marketing has been absolutely incredible.
Yeah,
And it's pit up against another film that's also going to be great. And from all the looks of it, from looking at predictions and whatnot, it's absolutely going to crush the
yeah,
environment. And sorry, Mr. Cruz, it's not Mission Impossible.
yeah.
It is Barbie.
Barbie. Yep,
I'm excited for Barbie. I'm excited for
I am
Barbie.
excited for Barbie.
Ever when they announced Barbie, I was not. I'm just like, why the hell are we doing a Barbie movie?
A Barbie movie.
I'm like, what does this even mean? Then they announced that Greta Gerwig was going to be the director. I'm like, okay, I'm intrigued.
Yeah, yeah,
She's a good director. And then I saw that it was releasing at the same time as Oppenheimer, and then I'm just like,
yeah.
perfect.
That's genius. That is so genius
This
to do. Yeah,
this writes itself. Like this is the
yeah.
best competition I never knew I
I
needed.
needed. Yep.
But Oppenheimer versus Barbie is one of those love stories that you couldn't have ever come up with. So
Yep.
Danny, are you gonna watch Barbie? Are you gonna watch Oppenheimer? Are you gonna do a double feature? And or which one are you most excited for?
Well, it's gonna be hard. Oppenheimer's like 3 hours long, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So, doing them both on a double feature, I used to love doing that. I don't know if I could make it. I'm gonna see. I weirdly though, I think I'm actually more excited for Barbie, but that
Kind of
one
same.
might
Kind of same.
be might be hard to get Hosbando to the theater to go to because he's like, I don't care about a Barbie movie. I was like, but have you the trailers? They look amazing. This is gonna be weird and good.
Yes, it's gonna be
So
weird.
I'll,
That's a good part.
I'll
That's what
yeah,
I like. When I saw the trailer, I'm like, oh,
yeah.
this is weird.
This is weird. Yeah. This is
I don't
weird.
know if you saw the second trailer where like Barbie's doing where she's dancing with all the other Barbies, and then Barbie just stops and say, "Hey, do you guys ever think about dying?" When I saw that, I'm just like, "This is
What?
batshit insane.
Barbie
I'm
being
ready."
existential?
Barbie
Like,
being
what is
existential and like the whole self awareness of like no one
yeah,
caring about Ken, and then being like,
yeah,
"No, we gotta figure out why." I'm like, "This is great." It's so
yeah,
absurd. It's surrealist. So
yeah.
I'm
It's
ready. I'm
it's
ready. Yeah.
it's so many other things because I hated Barbies growing up because it's, you're a girl, you have to have a Barbie doll.
Right. Right.
That's how
Right.
it works. You love them, and I was like really fatalist about them. Like I mean, I would put them in their car and like throw them down the stairs and be like, accident, they're dying, whatever, like horrible, horrible things.
So you
And
saw Death Becomes Her, and you were just reenacting that movie, basically.
little bit. So I wasn't like a big fan of the dolls. My sister was, and I would like
Obviously.
mine never had their shoes on, and I would like bite their feet because it was like, yeah,
I'm not gonna
yeah,
ask about that. Never mind.
yeah.
Continue, please.
So yeah, so it was always really weird to me how like their feet were always pointed because they always had to have the heels on and all that stuff. So
Oh,
when they
that
saw the
scene,
trailer,
and she
and
does. I was just like blown away. I'm like, how the hell did they do that? That looks
no, and
amazing.
then when they actually have her like flat and she's like, "Look at my feet," and being all traumatized about like her feet falling down, it's like I have to watch this movie.
Yeah,
This is totally for me. So I usually Wally usually does what I tell him to do. So I think he'll probably
that
just
is
I'll
true.
tell him
That
we're
is
gonna
true.
go watch Barbie and he'll probably come with me. So I think I'm more excited for that one. I mean, not to say that Oppenheimer is probably gonna be fantastic, but Barbie is just gonna be
It's gonna
something
be
else.
insane, right? It's gonna be insane. That's the thing. It's just like, yeah, I think
Yeah,
the internet is in agreement with you. I think that everyone knows that Christopher Nolan's gonna do a good movie. And everyone's excited, and it's like, yeah, we're
yeah,
gonna see Killian Murphy be amazing, and the movie's gonna be
yeah,
a cinematic masterpiece, and
yeah.
whatever. But Barbie's just like
Yeah.
this,
Like
like,
what?
why is this movie happening? Why is all this amazing, or all these amazing creators part of
Yeah,
it? Like Ryan Gosling as Ken, I'm just
I
like
know.
loving it, and then Simu Liu as like another Ken. You got
Yeah,
Michael Cera. I'm just like this. You're
yeah,
mixing so many people in this movie that's
yeah.
just ridiculous, and I'm here for the chaos.
Oh yeah.
So I
All
already
those.
got a T-shirt. I got the T-shirt that says
Yeah,
Barbenheimer with the date.
yeah,
So I'm into the meme. I'm ready.
yeah, yeah. I think you're gonna do the double feature, right?
Well, the thing is, I'm trying, but the problem with the double feature is that I was checking
The
showtimes or
times. Yeah,
the advanced screenings for Barbie specifically, because the Music Box in here in Chicago is doing a 70 millimeter screening of Oppenheimer, so on film, as Christopher Nolan intended.
yeah.
So I will preferably do Oppenheimer in 70 millimeter at the Music Box. Um, but then for Barbie, I want to go to the Alamo and see it. So kind of have
Right,
the two vibes, like
right. Yeah,
the actual cinematic one, and then the blockbuster experience. But Barbie, every time I look up at the screenings, they're all sold out.
oh yeah,
So there's gonna be a little juggling here to be able to figure out how
yeah.
I'm gonna be able to
Able to
acquire
try to do both. Yeah,
some Barbie tickets, so that we can figure that out. But it'll be fun. I'm excited.
yeah,
Uh, but besides Barbie, there's also Mission Impossible. But I really
yeah.
don't have too much to say about Mission Impossible
I mean,
because
how many? This is
it's a
like the
Mission
10th one
Impossible.
or something.
I think it's nine, but it's a two-parter.
There's two-parter, yeah, which is gonna be good. I mean, it's gonna do
Yeah,
well. Obviously, this is Tom Cruise right after Top Gun, and he's doing all those stunts that they're talking about. And the Mission Impossibles tend to always be entertaining, but I mean,
yeah.
they're Mission Impossible movies. I don't think there's much we can like deep dive into it.
It's like the what's the name of this one? I, I forget. It's just the thing is, I remember when Ghost Protocol came out, and I really like Ghost
Right?
Protocol.
Yeah.
That might be like my favorite one after Mission Impossible 3. I
Mhm.
mean, it is the one after Mission Impossible 3. But you know what I mean. It's kind
Yeah.
of like one of my top Mission Impossibles. And then I saw Rogue Nation. I think there another one came out after that. And those were, they were fine. But
Fine. Yeah.
I'm just like, okay, well, I haven't seen a memorable, and apologies
Not
to
in a
people that
while.
disagree.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry to all you Mission Impossible fans out there, but I don't think there's been like a memorable Mission Impossible since.
Yeah.
Ghost Protocol.
Ghost Protocol. Yeah, I think I
So,
agree with you on that. Yeah.
but obviously I'm gonna see this one
Yeah.
because it's Mission Impossible. You have to see them, and they're perfect blockbuster movies.
They
So
are. Yeah. They're great summer films.
So, we'll see. We'll see. It's kind of exciting for us as movie goers to be able to have all these movies to have in the cinema to be able to see because it's exciting to like have movies back and have all these
Yeah.
blockbusters to be able to enjoy. But kind of sad that it played against our,
Or indie.
our boy Indy. But but it's fine. It's fine. It's a good
I got a
movie.
movie I enjoyed.
I got
So
a movie
that
I enjoyed, and a movie I'm
yeah.
gonna rewatch,
Hmm. Yes.
and a score that I was listening to the score at work, and the score is beautiful. So John
Yeah.
Williams, you don't need me to tell you, good
That
job,
you're amazing.
but
Yeah.
good job.
Hmm.
But and looking forward, we're looking forward to movies that are coming out in the next couple of weeks or months. But this is gonna be a hiatus now for Lucasfilm between Indiana Jones and whatever theatrical release is coming next. And I don't know if this is gonna be a moment of self-reflection for Lucasfilm to kind of figure out how to.
What
I don't.
direction to
I don't
take?
want to say fix because I don't feel that they need to
Yeah.
fix anything, but to kind of how would they do things differently to make sure that new Star Wars films
Yeah.
are successful. Because I don't think if Indiana Jones has proven something and Solo has proven something and Rise of Skywalker has proven something, is that just because you have a recognizable IP and a
But
franchise
it's
that
gonna do
people
well.
love,
Yeah.
that it
Hmm.
will automatically mean
Hmm.
that you're going to do extremely well at the box office. So I think the next movie that's coming out, and it's actually the movie that I'm most looking forward to from everything that they've announced, is the new Jedi Order film starring Daisy Ridley back in the
Yeah.
role of Rey Skywalker. So I think that's a 2025 film, so it's still a year and a half away. But
What
Nani,
else
what
do
are your
we know about that
expectations?
film? What
We
else do we know about it?
we know very very little, and
Nothing.
I'm
Uh-huh.
actually since I'm drawing a blank. That's why I asked you that question, so you can kind of answer what you're looking
While
forward
you
to
look for
while I
information.
look for information for it. Thank you. Uh,
I I'm still really excited that it's getting made at all. I mean, I thought Daisy Ridley was kind of done with the character. I wasn't really sure what they were going to do moving forward. So, when that was announced, the first time we heard about it was during Celebration, correct?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that was huge. And I remember when news first started coming out, I thought it was like fake news. And then when I actually saw, the panel on the celebration stage and everything, and when Daisy came out, I mean, I was really, really excited because I think we've always wanted to do Star Wars like stuff in the future that we don't really know, or stuff in
Hmm.
the past that we also don't know about. Like take things out of the usual time frame that, as good as the time frame is, and I will continue to watch everything that comes out. It's exciting to know about an era that nothing has been heard of before, and to maybe see an actual success story of doing
Hmm.
a Jedi Academy, because they have so far failed miserably.
Hmm. Hmm.
So yeah, so I'm really excited to have her back. I would really love if they could bring Finn back in as well and
He
have
has
him.
to, right? They have to
He
bring
has
back
to.
the
Yeah,
trio.
yeah. So
But
what do you think?
here's let me answer your first question, so we can get the facts out of the way before going to speculation territory. So what we do know is that the movie will be directed by Charmin Obey Chinoy, and she's a very accomplished filmmaker. She's won like all the awards that you can think of, uh, and that the movie is set 15 years after the Rise of Skywalker. So there is going to be like a good
A
time
healthy
jump,
time frame.
a healthy time frame jump, and for me that's good, right? Because what you're saying, like
Mhm.
we can be far enough away from the sequel trilogy to finally do something that's new and exciting. Because as we've talked
And
about,
allow them creative rights to like
freedom
be
to
a
be
little
like,
bit, yeah,
well,
come up
and
with their
that's
own
the thing.
storyline. Yeah,
That's the thing. Like there's no limits to what they can do now. It's just like, well, we're
yeah,
in the future.
yeah,
We don't have to be locked into the timeline. It's not like Andor
yeah.
or any of like these shows set in the Galactic Civil War or something that they have
Mhm.
to tie into the story and the characters
Right.
because every
Mhm.
all the narrative is set up. Here's just like it's a brand new horizon, so do whatever you want.
Yeah.
So for me, like as an architect and a designer, one of the things, and I've said this a million times, and I'll say it a million times over. One of the things that, and it's a pet peeve, I know, One of the things that I did not like about Force Awakens and Rise of Skywalker, because Last of Jedi was trying to break away from this, but have those movies be too close design wise to the original trilogy. Like the X Wings
Yeah,
look the same,
yeah,
the TIE fighters look the same, like everything looked the same. Even though it was 30 years after the fact. But design apparently all the designers and architects in the
yeah. Get
galaxy,
me new ships, get
yeah,
me new
they didn't
buildings,
wanna
get me new. Yeah,
do new things. They were
yeah,
comfortable just doing the same thing for 30 years. Even though like in the prequel between prequel trilogy and A New Hope, there's what 19 years or something, and everything drastically
yeah,
changed from episode 1 to episode 4. So like I want to see that progression so that I can see
yeah.
that there's a passage of time and things are different. We're in a new era and things look different. So I would hope that New Jedi Order takes advantage of that, and it's like has a
Mhm.
distinct visual style just to kind of show that the galaxy is moving in a new direction.
Yeah,
So, I mean, not to say that we can't see familiar things, but but I wanna see new things because I
yeah.
want to feel like I'm in a new era and not just a rehash of an old one. That's in the aesthetic standpoint, but in terms of like narrative standpoint, yeah, like one of the exciting things about the prequels were seeing the Jedi Council, seeing the Jedi Council and seeing many Jedi and
Mhm.
seeing, it was a downfall of the Jedi, but it was still like, there were
Yeah,
thousands of Jedi and we got to see Jedi in action and all those things. And obviously they were destroyed in episode 3, so we didn't see them in the original
yeah,
trilogy. So when we think we're gonna kind of see Luke's new Jedi Order in the sequel trilogy, it's just like actually his
nope,
Jedi Order
failed.
failed
Yeah,
because Kylo Ren and Snoke were able to destroy and decimate his Jedi Academy, which is kind of cool to see, maybe in an animated show or something. Lucasfilm, come on, because that's really interesting.
it is. Yeah,
Pero yeah, we haven't been able to kind of see the new Jedi and what is supposed to be like because Ray and in the books Luke kind of revamped what the Jedi Order was, right? It's like okay,
yeah,
let's make a new Jedi Order and like this for this new generation in this new context. And I feel that from what I've seen in the books and what we saw like in the movies, like Luke still did the Jedi in the same way that the Jedi had been done before, which is the Jedi
yeah,
that failed, which is why he failed with Ben, which kind of narratively makes sense. But now I want to see Ray be like, no, we have to make sure that if we're reestablishing the order, that it's
yeah,
not that order because that order failed.
yeah.
So I want to see
Twice.
like how these Jedi are new, how they're
Mhm.
different, and obviously I want to see more Jedi. I don't want to just see Ray.
Yeah.
Definitely want to see Finn too,
Mhm.
because we already confirmed that he's force sensitive, so we have to kind of pull the
Yeah,
trigger on that story.
yeah,
But I want to see more Jedi. It's something that I'm excited for, and something that we've been robbed of seeing like more little force users do
yeah,
force things
yeah.
uh,
And from different races and
from different.
different.
Yeah, yeah,
So to see more like what we've gotten in, the animated stuff,
yeah.
that we would get a lot of these different Jedi. So
Which we will see in Ahsoka because we know
we
that
will see in Ahsoka. Yeah,
we have Ahsoka. I mean, Sabine's not a Jedi, but Sabine's gonna be
mhm,
using Ezra's lightsaber. Eventually, we'll see Ezra. We have those two dark side orange lightsaber dudes, which I'm very excited for. So that show kind of has a little bit of what I'm asking here. But what I really want to see here is what we're gonna see in the Acolyte.
right.
Uh, and the Acolyte, one is the show I'm most excited for. But two, and I don't know why Lucasfilm hasn't released a trailer for it, but that trailer that they showed at Celebration was incredible, especially the ending of the trailer. And I think we talked about this when we were talking about Celebration.
Yeah,
But it's been a minute, so I'm gonna refresh your memory. When the trailer ends, all of a sudden it's just like you'll see like a bunch of like Jedi just coming up, and I'm like, are they gonna do the thing? Are they gonna do the thing? And all of a sudden, like all the Jedi start uh, lighting up their lightsabers, and I'm just like, they did it, they did it, and that's what I want from Ray's thing.
yeah,
I want them to pull the trigger and be like, oh, there's more than two lightsabers. And he's like, no,
yeah,
here's. I still want the story to be her story, right?
yeah,
And not get distracted by having a million different plot lines. But
yeah.
yeah, give us something new. Don't Let's not rehash the same things. So
And
I don't
there's so
know.
much possibility there. So I really hope that they take that to heart and try to explore those possibilities, not just stick to what has been comfortable so far. Because their hands aren't tied to those earlier storylines. They can completely do something new. So I really hope they do. and
Do
we
you
get something new and exciting.
do you think that this movie is going to have a sequel, or do you think that it's going to be? Obviously, we haven't even gotten this, and we're only talking about sequels,
I
which is
know.
a little
Well,
unfair.
it's
But
Star Wars. I mean,
but
it's
but I would want to like see Ray's stories continue, right? Especially like depending
yeah.
on where this particular story
Mhm.
goes. I would potentially want to see more.
Yeah, and if we're doing as in it's part of the episodes, they usually have trilogies, so it would work.
Do you
But
think it's gonna be episode
I
10?
don't know if it's gonna be episode 10. I think it could be. It could also work as a standalone. Either way, I think. But I maybe think that they should go into the mentality filming it that they did for A New Hope. Like this is one
It's its own
of
thing.
other
Yeah.
ones, but it works as its own film as well. So if we don't get any, we still get a good story, but leave it open enough that it could continue if it's successful. So
Okay, I
I
can dig
think
it.
that's what would work the best.
Should Mark Hamill return as Luke Skywalker as a Force ghost?
I don't know. I honestly, his ending in The Last Jedi is one of the most perfect things I've seen. I mean, it still makes me cry. It's so good. I think we kind of need to say goodbye to the character,
Interesting.
but I don't know because I don't know why people hate on The Last Jedi. I think it's so good, but
It
I
is.
think
It
that
is.
send off that Luke got was exceptional. But I
Well,
mean, he did become a Force ghost, so if Mark Hamill's up for it and if it's done well, then I always love me some Luke.
like
So,
I do
but I
think
don't know.
that we should have like Force Ghost Luke just because it well, one, because I love Luke Skywalker and I will always
Yeah,
want to see him. And I don't want to, obviously, I don't want his character to be like a Force Ghost that shows up all the time.
yeah, and then
But
overwhelms Ray's story, and then it
exactly.
becomes all about Luke. Yeah,
Exactly. But I think it would be interesting to like have him be someone that kind of helped her, like
yeah,
build the academy and be like, oh shit, here's where I was wrong with Ben. Here's now I can
right,
finally see like all the shortcomings of the Jedi back then because X, Y, and Z. Like it kind of fulfills his vision from oh it's
right,
time for the Jedi to end, but then amends it to be like oh wait you
yeah,
can fix things instead of just killing them.
ending them
Uh,
completely. Yeah,
so have him be like someone that's
yeah,
helping Ray. I mean, this is gonna sound super fanficky, but maybe Ray has like a council of Force ghosts, right? Maybe she
because
has
there's no
like
other Jedi, so she needs.
because there's no other Jedi, and they're like, hey, maybe let's Force Ghost Yoda, and if you want to pull the trigger and just like have Ewan McGregor
Obi
instead
Wan.
of Alec Guinness be Obi Wan or Qui Gon or whatever. Maybe Ahsoka finally is dead at this point, so you just have a ghost. Okay, maybe there's too many ghosts at this point, but
Yeah,
but like
that's
have
a
like Jedi from the past have helped
yeah,
Ray because
yeah,
it's kind of a payoff from Rise of Skywalker, right? She's like, oh,
yeah,
and I am all the Jedi. It's like, okay, well,
yeah.
show me. 'Cause
Show me that you are all the
she
Jedi.
didn't mean it literally. She was actually
Yeah,
figuratively because they all talked to her. So I don't know. We still have a more
have a
than a
healthy amount
year.
of time to wait. Yeah,
Actually 2 years because I think it's coming out in December. So we still have a healthy amount of time to speculate responsibly about and I mean and we call it New Jedi Order, but that's probably not going to be the name of the film.
yeah,
So there's still time to figure out what we think it's going to be about, and then finally discover we were wrong when there's a trailer
because we're
at some
always wrong.
point. Not always. We were pretty good with Indiana Jones.
Yeah, true.
Indiana Jones, I think we hit a couple of things.
Also because we had Alex's help. So
Hey, don't cut us some slack. We're Alex. No, I love Alex. He's a very good friend. And no disrespect, but he has some wild ideas too, just like us. So
I
he's
know
he's he's
it's
he's
great.
wrong too. He's wrong too.
Yeah, yeah,
But yeah, I mean, while we wait for New Jedi Order, we still have a bunch of things to look forward to. Not just
yeah.
Barbie,
Ahsoka's coming out
but we
soon
have
too.
Ahsoka coming out soon. We have
Yeah,
Skeleton Crew, and most importantly, the Acolyte. So there's gonna be a lot of storytelling to be discussing in the months ahead. So it's gonna definitely be an exciting time, especially. I know Try has been a little spotty this year,
I
like
know. We're sorry.
in our
Yeah,
consistency, but it's been a we've been butterflies. I feel like this year we've been in our cocoon, in our chrysalis, rediscovering ourselves and doing different things. So, but it doesn't mean that we're gone. No one's ever really gone. It just means that we're figuring out. life and triad and bringing everything together. But I think we're gonna find some stability with Ahsoka moving forward. Yeah,
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun to watch
one
it and
hundred percent.
see how they translate from the animated versions that we've seen so far. Now that it's more than just the cameos.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, this was supposed to be, I feel this was supposed to be like a shorter episode where we just like
Yeah,
just
and then we
discuss
just
them.
kept going and going and
And then
going.
we kept going. But those are usually the more fun conversations. So
Yeah,
hopefully,
when they're not
hopefully,
planned.
hopefully, yeah, hopefully everyone that's listening enjoyed our rantings as much as we enjoyed ranting them. So yeah, I think that's all I had for today.
Yeah, I think we're done. We are Triad of the Force. Remember to like, subscribe, hit that bell, leave us some comments, let us know what you think of the movies that you've watched so far this summer, what you're looking forward to for the rest of the summer, because there's definitely some bangers coming.
Mhm.
And if you're excited for Ahsoka, if you're excited for the future films for Star Wars, and just let us know what you think about the Triad and everything else that you're watching. So until next time, we are Triad of the Force. May the Force be with you.